Welcome back to the Mom Curious podcast. This is your host, Daniela Rabbani. I have a very special guest with me today. She's sort of the muse, guys. She's the muse of the Mom Curious podcast. We met about, it must be 15 years ago.
That's crazy.
Her name is Jen Cohn. I'm going to read you her bio and let you know that I have a very distinct memory of us walking through the West Village where I lived when I was married, but waiting on having children. I waited, I think, about 10 years we were together before we had kids. And I knew that I wanted to have kids. And I turned to Jen and I said, I just don't want to give up my identity. I don't know how you do it. How do you have a full career? How do you look so good? How are you still smiling and have a kid and seemingly this like beautiful, creative, romantic relationship? Jen Cohn is best known for her role voicing Farah in Overwatch. She's also the voice of Lord Zash in Star Wars: The Old Republic and of Zuko and Azula's mother, Ursa, in Avatar: The Last Airbender. She can currently be seen playing lawyer Cheryl Levine in Hulu's limited series Welcome to Chippendales. Jen is also known for her live streams on TikTok, Twitch, YouTube at Hey It's Jen Cohn, where you should follow her, by the way, where she does style streams, studio visits, and Ask Bird Mom, a series of real talk advice streams for gamers. She's also a member of Rustic Mascara, a virtual theater company bringing live Shakespearean performances into video games. Their project, Grand Theft Hamlet, won the Innovation Award at London's Stage Awards in 2023 and just won Best Feature Documentary at South by Southwest in 2024. She lives with her husband, who's really cute, and her son, who brings us endless nachas, in New York City. Jen Cohn, welcome to the Mom Curious podcast. Thank you so much for being here and for being you.
I just adore you so much. I am so happy to be here. We've been wanting to do this for ages already.
For 15 years. Remember when I asked you that question? I was like, I want to do a talk show. And I pitched this show to you.
Yeah, you did. We were walking.
I pitched the show to you because you were the person I saw fully expressed. Like, if you can see her, if you're watching the video, I mean, she's wearing the sparkle Mary Janes with like, I don't even know how you made this outfit happen, but every single outfit you put together is like so fully actualized. It's like exactly who you want to be in this moment. It like you are these video game characters like in real life. You are bigger than life and have never dimmed that light of yours. I know that it sounds crazy, but so many mothers do. And you somehow you sidestep that. And I want to know how, and I've wanted to know how since the moment we met back in the day doing VO together.
I just have to say, I mean, you've kept yourself pretty freaking shiny, Miss Daniela. So
thanks.
It's not, I mean, it takes one to know one here. You know, I
Thanks.
mean, game sees game on this moment. But
Thanks.
how? I mean, part one is I think it's really important to pick the right partner to have a kid with. I think that it's very important to make sure when you're choosing who you want to be with, that you choose someone who really sees you and loves you and appreciates you and isn't trying to make you be something else and wants you to be everything you want to be.
Yeah.
Like I've referred to marriage before as being, I call it like the kavod hothouse. Like
Respect,
right? Because so in a marriage, there's the kavod, there's the respect and the trust that you have with each other. But I think of it as being kind of like a greenhouse, and so you're together in this greenhouse, and you're getting all the sun and the nutrients, and you're protected from the outside elements. And if you're able to have that and keep that going, you both get to grow into being these really interesting plants and hothouse flowers. And you can grow in your own directions, but you're safe because you've built this hothouse together.
And I feel the same way about your husband, by the way. He's also so fully expressed. He's doing such cool things as a producer, is it a showrunner, right?
He's a writer, showrunner. He's directed, but he's also
his career has really blossomed, and it's so beautiful to hear that like the roots of that those trees is your romance, and your romance, like underneath that is your respect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We champion each other. We make a lot of space for each other to take risks, and we support each other in going for it and taking risks and making room for each other to do it. And it's really fed us as a couple, but also us individually and as creatives and as artists and our family and our little trio we got going.
Oh my God, such a
with
cute trio.
Our wild, crazy hothouse flower of a kid, our teenager, our son.
Is he like a hothouse?
He's something else. I mean, I don't even know how that happened. I recognize parts. But so much of who he is so much of an individual. You know, he's so his own man, and yet he is this responsible, respectful, respectable, honorable, fantastic, hilariously funny, really cool guy. Like, he's someone I would be excited to meet as an adult, but certainly as another kid. Like, he's great. But I think that he's also benefited from the hothouse effect, clearily.
And the respect.
Because
you seem to respect him as a person.
Tremendously. As a person, tremendously. And I give him a lot of room, and he earns it. And I give him a lot of room and a lot of leeway to be his own guy and to support it. And I trust him to know what's best for him, sometimes in ways that I don't. Because he knows himself. He knows who he is.
How old is he?
He's now 16.
Oh my God.
I know. I can't stand it. I can't. Yeah, but giving him rope and giving him room to try things and be his own guy. And even there are times where, like, my gut is like, because I'm thinking of how I would want to guide him if it was for myself.
Yeah.
But again and again, anytime I come to one of those forks in the road, he always knows best. Like, he knows for himself. He knows best. So I have to trust him.
Have you always been that way? Or was that, well, about parenthood, have you always felt like he's going to find his way? Like, even we have to sort of remind ourselves that even as toddlers, you know, toddler moms, or, you know, like my children I couldn't breastfeed exclusively, and I could barely breastfeed at all. And I had to have that reckoning, like, this soul came to mine in this lifetime with this body, with these capabilities. He chose me and I chose him. And I have to trust that he, on some level, knows that he is safe with me and safe with formula. You know, it was like those tiny moments actually can be, you know, like little stepping stones to the bigger moments when, like, he has to learn how to drive and he has to learn how to, I don't know, date. Oh my God, is your kid dating now?
He's like snapping with people. He's like doing Snap.
Wow.
It's crazy. It's wild.
And you trust him with it.
Completely.
So have you always been that way, I wonder?
It's so funny as you were saying this. So I think one of the things is with parenthood, I never believed in, like, that you'd get gold stars from God if you did things a certain way. Mm-hmm. So, like, with breastfeeding, for example.
Yeah.
I was completely disinterested in breastfeeding. I was, like, so not into it at all.
Yeah, my sister was the same way.
At all. Like,
it wasn't a big deal for her at all. She was like, I wasn't breastfed.
Right.
No one I know was breastfed.
I didn't layer
it's not a big deal.
into something. I didn't make it mean something. I didn't make like having a natural birth mean something. I didn't make. I just sort of said, like, okay, me having a birth plan is like having a life plan. I would like for it to go a certain way, but if it doesn't go that way, I'm going to have to adjust, and I'm going to have to improvise. Well, what I really wanted was to have a baby 50s style and have them put me out and then wake me up once I was, like, looking pretty and the kid was in my arms. Like,
did you guys know that this is actually this is how they had babies?
Right,
Johan. They would put the woman out. They would just basically sort of kill her.
Yeah, They would just literally put you under, and then you'd wake up and be like, "Oh, there's a child." Like,
and
it
this
was
is
crazy.
this would be ideal for you.
I went into the doctor and I was like, "Can we
do
this
that?
50
Do you
style?"
still have like
And
those
she
tools available?
Obviously said no. But then when
unfortunate.
he wound up being breech, and then he wouldn't
How
turn,
Mickey of him.
I mean, of course, he was totally Mickey.
But he was also
Mickey.
totally you.
Yeah,
I think breech
it was-
babies are so interesting because they end up being just who they are in life.
Completely.
A little bit backwards, but also right side up for them, ready to stand.
He was.
Yeah.
He was. He already had a personality in utero. He was his own guy. But meanwhile, he wouldn't turn. And I got to have my C-section. And I got to like the night before I had him go out to dinner, and everyone in the restaurant, we all toasted that I was having a baby the next morning.
Love it.
And went and had him. And then my milk wound up coming in, and I said, okay, I'll do it for 6 weeks. And if I hate it, I'll stop then. And I wound up doing it for 6 months, and it was fine. And if I couldn't one day, and it was formula because I was busy or I was working or something, that no big deal. Like it didn't make any of it mean anything. And I think that going into parenting without that level of self-flagellation and perfectionism really let me be present and enjoy all of the fun stuff and not sweat the other stuff. Like I would say to myself, like, kids grow up in terrible circumstances. Me not breastfeeding him today is not going to be the end of him. Like,
that's right.
He's going to be fine.
Kids grow up in terrible circumstances and end up being Oprah.
Right.
You know?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So my husband's joke has always been, we raised him like he's our third child. Like we just sort of let him dictate. And then he always has had very strong interests. And so rather than foist our interests on him, we would just let him lead with his interests. And then really went for it. You know, he's this diehard fisherman. So I know,
So
in New
cool.
York City is
It's
the
so
craziest
cool.
thing ever. It's nuts. So like we were constantly tailoring our vacations or our trips around facilitating his fishing.
Amazing.
Or I was waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Instead of being a soccer mom or a hockey mom, I was going to Central Park with him so we could make sure to get the catfish bite, not the carp bite at sunrise.
I love it.
And so crazy things like this that, you know,
Because it was fun
parents do
for
this.
you. But here's the thing that I've always loved about you is that you love fun. Like,
Oh my God.
you
Joy
live
hog.
for fun.
Yes.
Joy hot.
Joy hog.
Joy
I'm
hot
total
and
hog.
joy hog.
That too. I'll be a joy hog too.
Yeah.
You know, joy hog always.
And it really
always
does
go
make
to
you
the fun.
hot. It's like it does make you hot because like you're like, oh, I'm gonna wear sparkly shoes and I'm gonna wear this like, I don't know, athletic tee
It's
and
a
like
vintage. It's it's from the teens basketball jersey.
because like it's fun.
Yes,
That's
for
what
sure.
you are wearing fun. That's what
Yes,
you're doing.
that-
This is what you're selling. Like it's interesting that, and so I feel like that's been really fun for me to watch you as a mom, is like you just have fun with him. And when it's not fun, you know, I mean, I'm sure there are moments
too. Of course, I mean, look, it's reality. Not everything is a skate in the park. Of course, there are things that are difficult that happen, but I don't know. A bad situation often ends up being an interesting lesson or an opportunity to look in the mirror and grow and learn.
Wow.
Or a moment and an opportunity to turn a different direction. And so, you know, you get through it.
Yeah.
You don't hold on to the frustration of it. You find reasons to learn from it and grow from it and
I'm learning
find the
from
next
you.
thing.
So beautiful.
The other thing is it goes so freaking fast, Daniela.
Is it real?
It goes so fast. I remember when I first took him out of the hospital, it was
Crazy.
before I got into the taxi. I was in front of the hospital with him, and some stranger saw me and said, you know, 'cause Mickey's born in June, and said, my son is leaving for college. He's 18, he's leaving for college in a couple of months, and I was you yesterday.
Yeah.
It goes so fast.
Yeah.
And I remember sort of looking at her and shrugging and thinking, you know, of course the world was just turned upside down because here I was leaving with this kid, and
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine it going so fast. And yet here I am. He's going into his junior year. I mean, it's bananas.
It really is bananas.
It's flying.
I'm curious if your mom and dad had this like open palm experience with you being such a joy hot feisty, sexy, creative, innovative. I mean, you won an innovative award just recently. You're
filmed it.
But you are very innovative. I mean, like the idea of like even being a star in the video game world like wasn't a thing when you were coming up as an actress. Like, but you are this person, and I wonder, like, were you raised with that respect, that kavod that you were just talking about? Like, were you raised with that? Was that what you were cooking in your childhood?
I cooked in a very definitely hot
really?
household.
I love to hear it.
Yeah, there was, when I was growing up in my family, there was more kavod than there was later, but I grew up in what felt like a really fun, creative, exciting household. My mother was a children's accessories designer, and she sort of invented high fashion children's accessories.
Oh my God.
So
this is where the fashion comes from?
Yeah. So I was constantly at trade shows and working in design with her and learning about wholesale and retail and all of that.
I feel like your style fans are really going to enjoy that little tidbit, by the way. I don't know. I didn't know that.
It's
that this is like a family affair.
It's totally a family affair. And she had just sort of come to it because she was making me stuff that I would be going, yeah.
Because you're her little doll, because you were the actress, because you were the star.
She wanted to make me a cool beret. She wanted to make me a cool belt. And then people stopped her and said, where are you getting this? And so she started making stuff and putting it under her bed.
You've always been the muse.
I was always
my
the muse.
You're your mom's muse.
Such a muse.
Such a muse. Were you the muse for Hamlet? What's it called?
Oh, so good. It's called Grand Theft Hamlet.
Grand Theft Hamlet. Were you the muse?
I was not the muse, but I was involved in it from its inception. Because it was the original creator of the project is this incredible actor, Sam Crane. He's in London.
Okay.
And
they do good Shakespeare there.
They do good Shakespeare there.
Yeah.
They do. And he's amazing, and he's part of an incredible crew. So anyway, he went home during the pandemic and he got shut down. He was about to start rehearsals to be Harry in Harry Potter on the West End.
Oh, casual.
And right, just cash. And anyway, didn't know what to do. And his kid was into video games, and he started playing video games with his son. And he found, while playing Grand Theft Auto, when we as adults think of Grand Theft Auto, what do we think of? We think of driving and shooting and killing and craziness.
Yeah.
But he was seeing that it was putting him into these virtual worlds, these beautifully drawn.
Yeah.
I mean, Grand Theft Auto is a gorgeous game if you look at it. And if you just get lost in it traveling, you see it's these magnificent landscapes. And it was putting him into rooms where he was speaking to strangers virtually. And if you weren't shooting or killing, you could be talking to people.
Wait, in real life? This is a thing?
This is in real time. When you're playing these games, you have a headset on and you've got a microphone, and you can be having conversations with people in real time.
So I voice Madame Nazar in Red Dead Redemption.
There you go.
And I want to take you guys backstage with me because, I mean, there are NDAs. But I have to tell you that, like, the way that these video game offices, empires treat this world is with so much kavod, so much reverence,
tremendous,
so much respect, so much awe. It's like, it's new for me because I did play video games, but they were like Sonic the Hedgehog, and I loved it, and I loved Mario, but it's not the same, and I didn't come up with it. So I was just an actor. I was shocked by it. Can you tell us more about the world?
That has been, to me, the most incredible thing in these games. So in a game like Overwatch, in a game like GTA. GTA is particularly special because if you see all of the details, it's a virtual, we did it in GTA 5. So it's all this virtual Los Angeles, and it's all facsimiles of Los Angeles locations. So if you know LA, you recognize everything.
Yeah.
In a game like Overwatch, they're inspired by different countries and different cities, but it's not as specific. I don't think that you're looking for a specific building or a specific neighborhood the same way, but they're magnificent. They're beautiful. And in a game, particularly like GTA, that's where you can sort of find your own rhythm and do your own thing. In a game like Overwatch, you are a certain character and you attach to their qualities. One who's playing attaches to the qualities of that character. So the character that you choose to main, which is the character that you play the most often, is often someone whose qualities really resonate with you. And the game, I mean, the game is
I think of it as such a bad thing for people's, like, I don't know, for kids. I don't know, like, we think of video games as being addictive, or, I mean, I loved video games growing up, but you're telling me something else. I want to know more about what you're telling me.
A game like Overwatch, it encourages socialization. It encourages teamwork. People are working, they're meeting people from all over the world. I mean, in the years that I've met my fan base, they've met their best friends, they've met their lovers, they've met husbands and wives and partners through these games. They've started full social groups. Wow. There's such incredible self-discovery. I mean, being in these games ends up being how they slay their dragons.
Oh, they're dragons, the metaphor.
How you learn who you are, how you learn what you're made of, how you work in a team. I mean, it's beautiful what happens. And when you've been playing one of these games as a certain character for hundreds of hours, that voice that you hear is your best self talking.
Oh, wow.
So when I will meet someone who is a Pharah main, or I'll meet someone who's been playing, my voice plays a major role in their psyche.
Can you give us the voice?
Sure. So she's got this voice. What lines should I give you? Oh my gosh. Play nice, play Pharah. Aerial superiority achieved. I've got you on my radar, Daniela. There you go. So it's
How long have you been playing her?
It's been 10 years. This month.
So people have been playing her with you for 10 years.
They've been playing her with me for 8 years.
Okay, because it does take because of the empire and the care and the respect that we were talking about. It does take years to make a world like this.
Yeah.
And you were part of the making of the world, like you were part of the pilot.
I was one of the original characters.
Oh, Jen, that's so cool.
Yeah.
I want to go back to GTA, you call it Grand Theft Auto.
Yes.
And
so playing figuring out the so as I was saying, Sam started realizing he could do anything, and so he started experimenting with a friend of his, doing Shakespearean soliloquies and doing monologues and sonnets just to see what would happen
within the world of Grand Theft Auto.
Within the world as an avatar in Grand Theft Auto. Wow. And this is right as people in the height of pandemic were talking about virtual worlds, we're talking about the metaverse, we're talking about creating in these virtual worlds as avatars. And Sam started doing these experiments.
Wow.
And he started filming it and putting them up on YouTube videos. And suddenly art magazines started writing him and websites, and he started like winning awards for it. And it was this wild thing. And I, at the time, was deep into my live streaming to my gamer fans.
Tell us a little
bit about that. And Sam and I were
friends.
So
live streaming.
What year was it?
I just want to tell you that from my perspective as a Shakespearean trained actor, the idea that you have made such a deep and meaningful career out of video games and then live streaming, I mean, it really is so innovative. It didn't exist.
No, it didn't exist.
It didn't exist, less than 20 years ago when I was coming up on the scene. We didn't have social media. Like, the idea of YouTube was still something like, like new and exciting. And so, the fact that you've always been on the cutting edge is so cool.
Thank you, honey.
from little Jen.
But I always like to know what's new, like to take it all the way back. To make you laugh.
Yeah.
So when my mother would take me to these trade shows when I was a little kid, if she had to get rid of me because she was writing orders, she would hand me a clipboard and say, "Okay, go walk the show and come back, tell me what you see."
Oh my God.
And so I would trend scout as a kid. I mean, not knowing, trend scouting wasn't an official thing at that point, but what was I seeing that season? What were the designs? And inevitably there would be some sort of zeitgeist represented in what I was seeing. And I would see rhinestone Mary Janes, let's say, or I'd see, the acrylic earrings, or I'd see whatever it was, and I'd come back and I'd have my favorites. And each season we would like discuss it. And then typically about 2 years later is when whatever that thing was would explode.
It's similar to even Overwatch. So, it took 2 years. Yes. It does take 2 years from the idea. It always takes
a year and a half to 2 years for whatever it is. But I then became really obsessed with looking for zeitgeist moments, whether it was in art, whether it was in creativity, whether it was in clothes, because I always think those things are canaries in the coal mine. And I'm always looking because that's sort of where I want to attach. That's exciting. And voiceover, I've always said, is a canary in the coal mine in terms of advertising. You know, what trends are happening in advertising and in what they're looking for in voiceover is a reflection of what's happening in society and in youth, because it's always a youth thing. So that's always been a driving force for me, is looking for what's happening in the collective subconscious.
So interestingly, I noticed that about you. And then I also noticed that you're not trying to be young. You have never tried to be any younger than you are. And you're also not trying to like, you know, mother or mentor. You are just squarely in your lane, and like, you find your place within the zeitgeist without being anything other than you are. And I am in love with that. I find it very magnetic. And also, I still don't know what a live stream is. So can you tell us what you did and how you made friends with Sam?
I love you. This is so fun.
Yeah. We're having a good time.
We are having a good time.
It's been 15 years in the making.
I can't stand it.
Yeah.
I know. Oh, you. So I had been going to back up further, so I always had these tracks of being a performer and loving fashion stuff. And over the years, I would help buy for boutiques, and I would go to Paris for Fashion Week. I had lived in Paris in my early 20s, and I would go and help buy because I loved doing the trade shows. And so I'd always sort of made it a deal with my agents for voiceover and anything else that I would be gone during Fashion Weeks doing these things. So I then started this trend scouting consultancy where I would work with brands, and I would connect stores with brands and international showrooms, and I did this for years. And I had a website. So cool. It was great. And then when Overwatch took off, there really wasn't a way for me to manage and juggle my work with the fashion stuff and then my video games. And still I was a working voiceover actress and a mother and a wife, and it just was too many things.
And you did TV then also? I mean,
I was doing some TV. You know what? I dip in and out. I love being on camera. And I had this thing when I was a younger woman. I kept on saying, I even knew it as a teenager, that I'd have to age into myself. I always...
Well, when we were younger, didn't you get cast as like Widow Corny and Oliver? Like, I mean,
I had like...
I did.
I was
12 and I was also 100.
Right. I was always aged up. I was always doing these over-the-top characters. And I would say, like, at some point, I will age into myself. And it's really in the last 10 years that I did. And so when I find myself in a situation where I get to do some really fun project, I love it. But my main thrust was voiceover for a long time.
Yeah, mine too.
I loved it.
I just want to give everyone a tidbit that at some point we were at dinner together and all the girls were like, you know, chirping, and there was a lull, and you just put your hand to your heart and you watched all of us and you said, I love being older. Like,
oh my gosh,
I just love being an adult now. Like, it feels so good not to care. Or I don't.
True.
Yeah, like you, and I've always felt that about you, that you've always loved how old you were. And
when I was a kid, I wanted to be older.
Oh, you did.
I did.
And by the way, you're not old by any stretch of the imagination, but you are like, I'm turning 40 and I've been like so like it's September 6th, guys. And I've been so like overwhelmed about it, and you giggle and you're like, it's like the fucking best.
It
girl.
really is. It's the fucking best. It's great. I think from the time I hit my mid 30s, early 30s, that's when I started being like, oh, it's great here. It's great here. And it's been that way all the way through. Like, there hasn't been a moment where I wish that it was a different age. I wish that I was in a different place. Like,
yeah,
it's so much better. It's so much better. You've so much more self-confidence. You've so much more grounding. You don't question anything. You're not worried about what people are thinking. There isn't fear of not knowing I love not knowing. I love going into something where I'm new, where I can just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And if I'm bad at it, who cares? Like, I had such an impulse toward perfection for so long.
Sure.
And at this point, I trust that I'm smart enough and I trust that I know enough that whatever happens, it just doesn't matter. It's all going to work out. I'm going to be into it and it'll work, or I won't be into it and it won't work, or it'll shift and morph and become the next thing. And it only, I think, is with age that you can have that kind of trust in yourself and trust in the world that you'll be able to handle whatever it is that comes. Yeah, I don't think you can do that as a kid.
I'm starting to taste that, and it tastes good.
Oh, it's delicious.
I need to go back to the live stream. You were telling us that Overwatch had become the main event.
It became, and I was traveling all over the world, and I was going to Comic-Cons all over the world and doing appearances and dragging my husband and my kid with me. And they were such good sports. They had such a good time, but we were just traveling for a couple of years. And what did they all want to know when I'd get on a stage and start speaking? They all wanted to know what I was wearing. And how did I know how to dress myself? And that's when I said, oh my gosh, there's direction to be had here. This is a spot that I could be helpful in. I can be doing something with this. And so with the help of a trusty producer named Ness, who I adore.
Ness?
Ness.
That's my son's name.
Ness?
Ness.
That's Ness Hernandez, my trusty producer who helped me with all of this stuff.
Ness Hernandez?
Yes. Ness Hernandez.
Ness Hernandez. That means
Hernandez.
But it means miracle in Hebrew. What does it mean in Spanish?
He took it from Pro Ness. With help from my trusty producer Ness, I started doing these live streams where I would bring style content to gamers. And I realized, because here is this vast community, tremendous community, super interested in style, not typically cleaving to gender binaries, not cleaving to office attire,
the video game
cleaving to
community.
Yes,
wow.
They super creative in terms of styling themselves and making their own things, plus wanting to do this, and who have disposable income, would like to represent who they are in their best selves in game, in life, in day-to-day life. And nobody was representing this. Nobody was presenting them with this kind of style content.
Wow.
And what was the most important thing? Personal connection. So I started doing my trend scouting in Paris and at other fashion weeks and in New York, looking for indie designers who would connect with them, who were making the kind of product that would connect with a gaming audience.
No way.
And so I started doing all of this style content for gamers and doing live streams like that, style streams, studio streams, where they could buy directly from these designers.
Wow.
And so that was how the live streams started.
This is crazy.
Yeah, amazing.
I've never heard anyone do that. I was sitting here being like, tell me about the live streams, as if like this was something that I don't know. I've never heard anyone do any of this stuff before. This was a business stream also?
Yes. Yes.
But the spark of it was not to start a business and make money.
It was completely
to serve
out
your
of
community.
a creative impulse. And
you're
as always putting together my loves, putting together my interests. So yeah, which is typically how all of my things happen, is like, what are the things that I love to do? How do I put them together? How do I put them in a blender and make something new? So that, and I'm always sort of following that muse. That's sort of how I always go forward.
So you're your muse too. I love
Life, zeitgeist. Those are the things that inspire me, and wherever my attention is. And so I choose very carefully where I put my attention, because it's difficult. I mean, certainly in times like now, when there's so much craziness going on in the world, to take our attention, it takes real work and focus to constantly say, like, no, where do I want my attention now? Where can I help? Where is the joy? Where can I be of service? What is the thing that I can do that will actually be useful, that only I could do? That's That always feels like the North Star for me.
And the next iteration of that is is this movie. So I want to hear a little bit more about
that.
Okay,
I got to get back to it.
Oh, don't be sorry. This is my job.
It's so fun.
It's my job.
I know you're very good at this.
I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Thank you. So I was doing these things, and I was bringing this content, and then the pandemic hit. And once the pandemic hit, I really had to expand the nature of the streams. And so among the streams, I was doing, no one was going anywhere. So I could do virtual style streams. But what people really needed was to talk about what was going on in life. And my nickname among this gamer community of fans was Bird Mom, because Farah flies. And they would just call me Bird Mom, which initially I was like a little weirded out, like, I'm not your mom, what are you doing? But then I came to really embrace it.
Yeah.
And so I started doing these Ask Bird Mom real talk advice streams, where, like a talk show, we would talk about what was going on in their lives. And it could be light, fluffy stuff, or it could be really heavy stuff.
Wow.
And we built this beautiful community of the people who were regulars on the streams. And then it was building and building. And then we expanded it to TikTok. And it was great. So we were doing the Bird Mom streams. We were doing the style streams. We would do studio visits. We would do interviews with other gaming personalities. And then as I was finding more and more metaverse creation, I started incorporating more metaverse style stuff.
What does that mean?
Meaning creators and creatives who were building new technology and new art in like virtual worlds.
Wow.
That was because of game. And it related to gaming, it related to performance, it related to zeitgeist and art. And that's where Sam came in. So Sam, I did a couple of interviews with on the stream, one of which we did as avatars in Grand Theft Auto, where I sat with him and we talked about what he was working on. And while he was doing this, he told me that his next big plan was to make a full production of Hamlet in Grand Theft Auto. And this was like this crazy idea. Like, how are we going to do it? And he then went and auditioned people. He and his friend Mark auditioned people who wound up being these extraordinary British stage actors who were also gamers.
Oh, wow.
And me. And so
who do you
wound
play
up
in Hamlet?
I'm Horatio.
Oh my God.
We had the most incredible time. And
this was all virtual?
This was all virtual.
Wow.
And so I had to get a PS5. I had to get this like gaming console that at the time was impossible to find. A fan wound up sending me one, hooking me up with one because we couldn't. I, at the time, was going back and forth to LA because we were working on Chippendales. So I had to make Mickey, who doesn't play video games, learn how to play. Mickey, my son, learn how to play GTA so that he could help me because I have terrible hand-eye coordination.
Oh my
I was
God.
so bad. So he had to be like my puppeteer. And so we were having these rehearsals on London time, like at 5:30 in the morning in Los Angeles, schlepping this gaming console back and forth between New York and LA, doing this. So we did the full performance 2 summers ago. It was extraordinary and groundbreaking and really magnificent. And what's so amazing is you don't have to do it in a static theater the way one would have to do a live performance. We were able to be in an airplane and on a ship and in a submarine and on a blimp and in all different spaces in this virtual Los Angeles, moving the whole way, the audience coming with us.
Wow.
And different. It was gorgeous. And it's really a beautiful piece of work.
Wow.
Gorgeous. And then that performance won the Innovation Award for the British Stage Awards.
Oh
and
my
so
God.
we had to go to London to the Drury Lane
You had
Theatre
to.
to go
You just had
accept.
to.
And meanwhile, Penny Grills, who is Sam Crane's wife and collaborator, is this amazing documentary filmmaker.
Oh.
She, the entire time, had been filming with cameras in-game. She had an avatar with cameras in-game. And so she would be shooting all of the rehearsals and all the performances. And she created this incredible narrative documentary, Grand Theft Hamlet, that's a beautiful piece about like isolation and creativity in dire times, and about innovation and about togetherness and about friendship. And it's just gorgeous. This movie is so beautiful.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And toxic masculinity and about finding yourself in video games. And it's a beautiful film. And now the film won at South by Southwest.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Huge.
And so it's doing the international circuit right now.
And eventually we'll be able to see it on.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. But this week it's playing in Melbourne International Film Festival and the New Zealand International Film Festival.
Wow.
Next week it's the Norwegian International Film Festival. So it's doing the global rounds right now. And it's just freaking gorgeous. It's so special.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Thank you. We're really, it's exciting and we're proud of it.
Wow.
And yeah.
I'm so proud of you.
Thank you, honey.
You don't seem to like stop. Like what I mean in terms of like your evolution. You're like, how do I open up the petals of this rose another level? And I'm wondering where we are
Keep
today.
It coming. I have no idea.
Oh, the not knowing.
I have no idea. Yeah, I've been with everything that's happened in the world and with where my focus has been shifting. I'm really not. I'm in a moment of I'm not sure. I know the things I love. I know it's important to me. I know that I have to feed myself and keep myself like in a joyous space.
Joy hog.
Yeah, and be in like joy hog high energy. And so I'm doing that as much as possible. And then just sort of keeping my ears to the ground and going with whatever thing feels like the right thing.
Yeah.
I'm right now in this phase of learning how to say no if it's not a hard yes.
Wow.
If it's not an absolute yes, it has to be a no. This is a new lesson for me.
It's a new one for me also. And I'm big. I'm very much like I am the tea bag steeped in the water right now of learning that.
It's a lot, right? Yeah. It's a lot to learn.
And it feels good.
Yeah.
It does feel good.
It does feel good.
In the meanwhile, where can we find you and support you while you're, traveling the world with this film?
Oh, love
Are you doing more live streams?
We're talking about more projects. That's going to be a thing. My live streams have been a little wonky in light of what's been happening in the world. So yes, there will be, but I'm not really sure what the next platform is for them.
Beautiful.
The best place to find me is on socials. You can find me on all of the socials at Hey It's Jen Cohn. Yeah, you can find me on all the socials at Hey It's Jen Cohn. You can still see Welcome to Chippendales on Hulu right now.
Hey!
Yeah, so that's really good. And I'm looking right now to be as helpful to my community as possible.
Yeah.
Like I'm finding that my focus is really turning for this crazy moment. I keep saying, how can I be of service to my own community right now? And so, so I'm working with Hillels and I'm talking to all these organizations and I've spoken at events and I've hosted benefits and
beautiful.
So it's just, more. I'd like to be available to more of the teenagers and gamers. I've been reached out to by a bunch of gamers in the community, really grateful for us speaking up because there's so few people in the community who are speaking up.
Yeah.
So
there is this beautiful quote that a friend of mine shared with me today, and it goes along the lines of, service is the rent you pay for the room you take up on earth.
Ooh, say it again.
Service is the rent you pay for the room you take up on this earth. And I feel like you keep answering the call to be of service, and I'm just so grateful for that. I'm grateful for, you're being my muse. I literally have a show because you are a fully actualized woman.
Well, I love your show. And
I pitched it to you, and and you are that light for me and for so many people in the gaming community, for your kid, for so many people in the Jewish community, and I'm really grateful for that too. Thank you for coming today, Jen Cohn.
Thank you, honey.
At Hey It's Jen Cohn.
Yes, everything is at Hey It's Jen Cohn. I was going to say, and you're serving as a muse to me as well, because I have been for, how long is it? My God, ages. I have 5 years worth of Ask Bird Mom.
Oh,
footage and things. And so I've been trying to put this together as a podcast.
Oh,
because I have all of this. So you've also served as a muse. So it takes a muse to know a muse, my Daniela. Exactly. So here's to musedom. Yeah.
Cheers.
Here's to service. Good
Here's
girl.
to respect, a little kavod.
Yeah, here's to kavod. Here's to being creative beings.
Here's to you, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in. See you in 2 weeks. Love you.
Bye, gang.
Thank you, as always, for listening to the Mom Curious podcast. My name is Daniela Rabbani. I am your host, and I would love to continue this conversation at Daniela Rabbani on Instagram. And if you'd be so kind to rate and review, share this podcast, I would be just really grateful. Catch you next time, every Tuesday on the Mom Curious podcast, produced by Hoff Studios. You can find them at Hoff Studios on Instagram as well. All right, have a great day.